Imagine you're standing at the edge of a forest. No hospital, no doctor, no surgery scheduled for Tuesday morning. A woman is giving birth alone, or nearly alone, and she has been doing this for 200,000 years. Not struggling against her biology, working with it. Now, picture a modern delivery room, bright lights, strangers in gloves. A woman flat on her back, legs raised, attached to a monitor, and 1 in 3 of them will end up on an operating table before this is over. Same species, same event. Radically different outcomes. If our bodies evolved specifically to give birth, why are we the only species on Earth that regularly dies doing it? The answer isn't one thing. It's never just one thing. There's the evolutionary mistake hiding in your pelvis. There's what agriculture did that no predator could. There's a birth canal that shrank in 10,000 years. And there's a reason your grandmother's grandmother probably didn't need a doctor. Each layer is more surprising than the last. Let's go. The first thing people get wrong is this. They assume childbirth has always been this dangerous. That this is just how we're built. But Anna Warner at Harvard published research in Times PLOS One Times in 2015 that cracked the classic story open. The old model said evolution made a grim trade, narrow the pelvis for walking, sacrifice birth safety. Warner proved that wider female pelvises don't actually reduce locomotor efficiency at all. The trade doesn't exist. Something else is driving this. Here's what's actually happening. Human neonates are born earlier in brain development than any other primate on Earth. Dunsworth and colleagues demonstrated in 2012 that 9 months is already the metabolic limit of what a mother can sustain. The baby leaves before it's finished because the mother's body simply cannot fuel it any longer. Homo erectus was doing this 1.8 million years ago with no evidence of obstetric catastrophe in the skeletal record. The Laetoli footprints in Tanzania, 3.7 million years old, show bipedal hominins walking efficiently with pelvises already narrowed, brains still small enough to pose no crisis. A Neanderthal female from Tabun Cave in Israel shows pelvic dimensions fully capable of delivering a Neanderthal infant. The machinery worked. Evolution didn't give you a broken birth canal. It gave you a baby that had to leave before it was finished. Now let's talk about what actually broke the machinery. Because the assumption is that agriculture saved us. That settling down, growing grain, building cities that made birth safer. Michaela Teschler-Nicola at the Natural History Museum, Vienna, published skeletal analysis in 2020, comparing early Neolithic European females to Mesolithic hunter-gatherer women from the same regions. The pelvic inlet diameter was measurably smaller in the agricultural group, not because of genetics, because of what their bodies went through during development. Girls who walked 8 to 16 kilometers a day on diverse terrain, eating varied animal and plant protein. Growing up in constant weight-bearing movement, they developed different pelvic geometry than girls who sat grinding grain, eating mostly starch, and growing up vitamin D deficient. Skeletal evidence from linear pottery culture sites in Germany around 5000 and 500 BCE shows rachitic pelvises deformed by vitamin D deficiency at rates near zero in pre-agricultural remains. In Çatalhöyük, Turkey, one of the world's first dense settlements, average female height dropped 5 to 6 centimeters within a few generations of the agricultural transition. In Egyptian agricultural-era mummies, pathologists have found scarring consistent with obstructed labor in women as young as 14. Bone geometry is plastic during development. Civilization shaped the female pelvis in ways that made birth harder. Not evolution, civilization. The thing that fed civilization may have also made it the first place where giving birth could kill you. Here's something else that almost never comes up: the position. The image most people carry of hospital birth woman flat on her back, legs raised, is not a medical discovery. It's a royal affectation. King Louis XIV of France reportedly had his mistresses deliver in this position so he could watch from behind a curtain. Court physicians adopted it. It spread through European medicine as modern practice, and it locked in globally. The problem is biomechanical. The sacrum, the triangular bone at the base of your spine, is not rigid. In a squatting or upright position, it flexes backward, increasing the pelvic outlet diameter by up to 28%, according to Blandine Calais-Germain's anatomical research. Lying supine, locks it flat, closes the outlet, forces the baby through a smaller space. Gustav Decker's systematic review at the University of Adelaide in 2017 found that upright labor positions reduced pushing duration by an average of 6.1 minutes, cut episiotomy rates by 21%, and lowered instrumental delivery by 23%. Ancient Egyptian birth bricks from Abydos, dated around 1750 BCE, the oldest birth artifacts ever found, depict women kneeling upright over two bricks, allowing the baby to drop freely. The Huichol people of Mexico have used a birth rope suspended from ceiling beams for generations, the mother hanging and squatting while the midwife catches below. Every traditional birth culture on Earth used gravity. One French king's voyeurism changed that. We didn't discover a better way to give birth. We forgot one. But here's where this gets uncomfortable, because everything we've covered so far only explains why modern birth is harder. It doesn't explain what actually happened to the women who came before hospitals. And that answer is stranger and darker than you'd expect. Traditional birth carried its own brutal mortality. The Chamberlain family of English surgeons invented obstetric forceps around 1600 and kept the design secret for over 100 years. A family trade monopoly, instruments locked in a box, patients blindfolded so they couldn't see what saved them. In 1706, Sarah, Duchess of Marlborough, nearly died in obstructed labor. Hugh Chamberlain was brought privately. He used the secret forceps. She survived. Women without money or status died of the same condition for a century while the tool sat in a private vault. The forceps design reached the public only in 1728. The exception to every rule about natural birth being safer turns out to be social and economic, not biological. And then there's Vienna in the 1840s. The first obstetric clinic at Vienna General Hospital, staffed by medical students who came directly from performing autopsies, had a maternal mortality rate of 10 to 35%. Almost entirely from childbed fever caused by streptococcus bacteria, carried on unwashed hands from cadavers to mothers. The second clinic, staffed by midwives who had never touched a corpse, had a mortality rate of 1 to 2%. Ignaz Semmelweis figured this out in 1847, introduced hand washing, dropped mortality in his ward to under 1%, and was ignored, institutionalized, and eventually died of the same bacterial infection he spent his career trying to prevent. The lesson is brutal. The deadliest period of hospital birth was not caused by birth. It was caused by physicians who brought death into the room with them. Pre-modern birth mortality was real concentrated in obstructed labor, external infection, hemorrhage, not in healthy, nourished women birthing in supported environments. The biology was more robust. The social infrastructure was catastrophically deficient. There's one last thing I saved for the end, because this video is not really about childbirth. It's about how civilization reshapes the human body without asking permission, and then builds institutions to manage the damage while rarely acknowledging the cause. C-sections, epidurals, and hospital birth are not signs that the human body is poorly designed. They are signs that the human body was designed for a world that no longer exists. The same pattern appears in sleep medicine, orthodontics, vision correction, autoimmune disease, all spiked with industrialization, all now requiring medical management, all with evolutionary antecedents that functioned without intervention until very recently. Every year, approximately 300,000 women die in childbirth globally, almost all in low-income countries, without access to surgery. Nearly none of them are dying because the human body is bad at birth. They are dying because of malnutrition, infection, and hemorrhage, because 10,000 years of civilization reshaped their bodies, and the interventions that became necessary afterward never reached them. They are casualties of the same transformation as the women who died in Vienna hospitals in the 1840s. Just at a different point on the same timeline. The question is not whether medicine is good. It is, what problem did we create that made this medicine necessary? Go back to that forest. A woman, no hospital, no surgery. You assumed primitive, desperate, dangerous. But look again. Her body was shaped by 200,000 years of selection. She was squatting, sacrum flexed, pelvic outlet open to its maximum diameter. Her cortisol was low. Her oxytocin was flowing. In the minutes of birth, her baby was being colonized by a microbial inheritance the cleanest hospital room cannot replicate. She wasn't alone because no one came to help. She was alone because her body already knew what to do, and somewhere in the last 10,000 years, we forgot to trust it.